G'day everyone, it's episode 332, Aussie Tech Heads, how you doing? It's the 13th of March, yes that's right, we are a day earlier on the record, and it's all my fault. I'm tied up tomorrow night, which is the Thursday night, the normal record night, because I'm going to see the first two episodes of Season 6 of Doctor Who at the cinemas on the big screen, that's right. So I've had to bail on tomorrow night. First Thursday night in ages, but anyway, we're pumping it out on Wednesday night. Now, we've had a few technical difficulties tonight, and we're still experiencing speaking difficulties. And we hope we can get through this. My machine, as the Windows 7 install has pretty much kaputted, which is what I normally do the show with. So Shane is experiencing a blackout. So Shane can't be with us. Eric can't be with us. He had previous commitments. But Will, he's up there in Ippy doing his record. He's actually recording the stream and doing the stream, doing the switching, doing everything there tonight. So, but before we get to Will, I will bring him in a second, because I just wanted to say, so Aussie Tech Heads, just normally Thursday nights, and you can see the techwebcast.info beforehand at about 7 o'clock, or if they run for about an hour, it starts at about, I don't know, however it is. But anyway, we start at 7:30 or roundabouts, barring bus accidents. And so we'll see how we go. All right, so this is episode 332. If you're looking for hosting, we've got Aussie Tech Heads hosting, shared hosting. You want a blog, you want a business page, just a personal page, or somewhere to put your crap. You can have a look at us, aussietechheads.com.au/hosting. It's affordable, fast Aussie servers, and very professional sort of an outfit. You get the C panel, you get all the install scripts for WordPress and Joomla and Drupal and all that sort of stuff, surveys. Everything's there. It's all there. So if you need a fully serviced C panel and web space hosting, come and have a look at us, aussietechheads.com.au/hosting. You can catch us in the lounge live each Thursday night at aussietechheads.com.au/live, and you can also call us up on Skype. I haven't mentioned the Skype call-ins for a while, but normally we can take call-ins around about towards the end of the show live, and you just need to Skype Aussie Tech Heads. And if we're free and we can see it buzzing around up there on the screen, we'll pull you in and see what you got to say. Keep it short, and you'll be right. All right, now the audio obviously is on the iTunes, and the video, you can see the video. Hopefully this video will be on the webpage soon. don't know what sort of quality, but we'll see how we go. But normally it's on the front of the aussietechheads.com.au webpage. All right, I think I've got everything sorted. Welcome, Will. How you doing?
How we doing? Yes, it's certainly been an interesting day, and it's your fault, of course.
It was. I was ready to go. I was dead set, had everything open, everything ready to go, and I tried to do something, like just, move a window or something. I just tried to do something just to start the show off at normal time, normal kickoff, and everything just capitulated from there. Then my system wouldn't boot. It wouldn't even get to the post. I've pulled all the USB cables out. It's now booting up, and Windows 7 wasn't working, so I've gone back to the Windows 8 install on the SSD, which is working. But then, it's just a nightmare. It was a nightmare tonight. But then we finally started to get ready to go, and Shane has a blackout.
Yeah, I tell you what, it's it's unusual. Usually, I'm the one that has the problems and holds everybody up. So it's a bit unusual that I'm actually the backbone tonight, and it's been a while since I've actually done the streaming as well as the recording as well as the switching. I actually forgot just how much effort goes into it. But so it's been a good week. So hopefully, and I'd like to thank all the listeners too for keep listening to us and keep pumping us up on iTunes. We ranked number 10 this week, so that was pretty cool.
Well, that's right, yeah. Peaking up there at number 10 is what I saw anyway. And, so thank you very much. Also, in the new and notable, so thank you, iTunes, and thank you to everyone out there who's, getting behind us. That's good. Let's see some more. But speaking of getting behind us, we've got the Runtastic giveaway. We're going to give another two codes away tonight. And all you have to do is tweet anything. Tweet anything with @AussieTechHeads in it, and with the hashtag Runtastic. Now, that's all you have to do to enter. There's 2 more weeks of it. So I think there's actually, after this week, there's still 6 codes. So we're going to start pumping those codes out. So make sure you get entries, and you've got a really good chance if you want that the full pro version of the app. Now, just in case you missed it, I'll just quickly run you through what this does. It's the you get, you stick this, you start this going, and you go for a walk, or you do your jog or whatever. It tracks where you go, tells you all your stats, pace goal, geotagging, route, weather and temperature, prediction of sunrise and sunset, landscape mode, remote control for pause and resume a session. There you go. Heart rate zones, weather integration, and it's ad-free. That's the most important thing. So, all right, now. So that's the Runtastic Pro, and we thank you to Runtastic for giving us the codes to give away, because we're doing this as part of our fitness month. As I've said before in the previous weeks, we all spend too much time on the computer, and I know you get involved in what you're doing. You need to get up and get around, and hopefully, have a look at one of these programs that makes it a little bit more fun. You take the tech with you, and you're interacting with the tech as you're going along. Listen to us as you're walking along. That'll give you a boost.
Make you run fast to try and get away from it. Yeah,
that's right. And I've also got a new mic. I don't know if I sound any better or not, but please feel free to tell me if I sound any better. No more flat batteries, because it's corded.
Owns a real microphone this time.
That's right. All right, now here we go. Now we're going to do another two. Oh, there's one already.
Did you go the wrong way again?
Probably. But anyway, that's two. Now, Will this week has the list.
Oh, yeah.
Hang on.
I should probably find that, I suppose. You want to find that as well as do everything else. Man, what is this?
I know.
Alrighty. Let's do this thing.
Being the producer. Okay. Oh, they're close numbers tonight. The first number is number 48. So congratulations to number 48. So what happens is all the tweets that come through each week, and I just, as they come in, I'll give them a number, and the ball go into the barrel. So number 48.
48. 48 will be Albert 3801, and I'm going to assume his name is actually Albert.
Good on you, Albert. 38401. That is all right, good stuff. So I'll get in contact with you, or send me a DM, and I'll send you the code out. So it's for iOS and Android. Apparently it works on both, so that's good. And the second one is number 55. Told you they were close together tonight.
Too. Okay, it's Poodle Antics, which is POO.
Oh, are you serious?
POODLEANTICS. Follow him. He's actually a regular listener. So he obviously knows what he has to do because he listens to us regularly. And I tell you what, I also happen to know that he also has another Twitter handle called Belco Weather, BELCOWEATHER. And that's his local weather station that he runs and keeps people informed of the weather as well. I happen to know he has that one because I follow that as well. So if you're, look him up and follow him, and he's got the live stream where he grooms poodles, and as you would imagine with a name like that, he gets up to antics and.
And he's got the weather station, stuck in the ground out the backyard. That just streams all the info across the net for wherever he lives, and so that's good. So if you're living down in Canberra, check that one out. What was that? What was the Twitter again, Will?
The weather one is Belco Weather, BELCO Weather.
All right, there you go. And if you probably, I don't know, the webpage is probably on there as well. I don't know what the webpage is, but it's probably there as well. Go and have a look at it.
Well, no, he's hosted with you. You should know.
No, he's not hosted with me.
He will be by the end of the episode.
No, he's hosted with a rival. He's rivality. All right, so I hear his system's okay. It's probably just as good as mine, maybe a little bit down. But no, it's all right. I'm just joking. All right. So if you want to get some news into your Twitter feed, follow at Aussie Tech News. Good stuff. Now, if you want a paper to read, follow or go to aussietechheads.com.au/paper. Oh, easy, isn't it? All right, let's get into some stories. Now, there probably will be normally on the video I have a few pictures for the stories, but there's none of that tonight. I do have the pictures, but because I'm not actually doing the stream, Will hasn't got the pictures. So I should have probably sent them to him.
I was all prepared. I had my phone set up with the screen grab software so I could show you my speed tests and everything from the Aldi phone, and none of that's going to happen tonight. I can tell you, though, actually, we might start off with that just because it's a recap from last week. We're talking about Aldi and their mobile service. You can go to Aldi, you can buy a starter pack. It's $5 for the starter pack, gives you $5 worth of included calls. Of course, then you can buy, add-ons and things to that. Also includes data with that $5 as well. So I thought, oh, well, we'll give it a go and we'll see what it's like. And, I've been using it all day just because I drive around Brisbane as part of my job. I thought, oh, it's just in my Galaxy Tab, which isn't fantastic, which doesn't have fantastic reception at the best of times. So I thought it'll be a good check for it. And probably... I probably averaged. I mean, it's 3G. It hit HSDPA a couple of times in the middle of the city. I probably averaged about between 2 and 2.5 meg up, and about 1.5 to 2 meg down. Sorry, the other way around. No, actually, that's right. Yeah, the upload was generally quicker. So about 2 to 2.5 meg up, and about between 1.5 and 2 meg down regularly, which was fast enough to play a YouTube video in HD. So yeah, that's all right for you pay $25 a month or whatever it is, you get 2 gig of data or something, and 5 gig of data. So it's actually a pretty cheap way of doing it.
Yeah, that's not too bad. Now, just before we just get into those stories, are you able to turn your audio just up a tad, Will, or is that going to muck you around?
How does no sound?
Leave it. Leave it. Leave it. All right, let's move on to the stories. Now, look, I've got a couple of stories here. Look, this is probably one. Well, let's actually look. Shane did prepare some stuff today, so we won't just brush over that. We'll do his this week in tech because he got a couple of ones out. First, March 1918, killer influenza. The 1918 World War I reaching climax. The first case of the Spanish influenza is reported. It quickly spreads and results in a worldwide epidemic. The worst in history, ends up killing more people than the war. Well, that must have been bad. The death toll worldwide has been... Is this tech being on? Let me go through this. While the war was not directly blamed, the soldiers living in close quarters and the mass movement of troops... Well, the technology was that they found a cure. Or it just died a natural death. Okay, now, March the 6th, 1992... the doomsday that wasn't. MS-DOS users are quaking in their boots over reports about the Michelangelo computer virus. I remember that.
I had that.
Do you remember that one?
I got that.
Will?
Yeah, I copped that.
Has lost audio altogether. All right, the media seized upon the virus, so named because it was programmed to strike on the birthday of the Renaissance artist, making it sound as if Michelangelo was going to cripple millions of computers. In fact, the virus infected relatively few hard drives, and there were fewer than 20,000 reports of data loss worldwide. So what a bit of a non-event, really,
yeah,
Michelangelo?
I actually ended up...
Yeah, non-event. All right, let's just go back and check in with Will, see what he's doing. I think Will has lost something or other.
Should be fine.
So we might
fine
just
here.
Pause it there, and we'll wait for Will to return. All right, we found Will. We did a refresh, and look, what else can go wrong? But well, I'm sure there'll be something. We'll find something.
Yeah,
eh?
well done.
Now, this is something that you probably know about. Samsung to launch the Apple, the Apple. Samsung to launch the Galaxy S4. When's that happen?
I mean, they're going to launch it. Obviously, it's much the same as Apple's going to launch another iPhone. There's no controversy there.
They're launching it today.
Yeah,
apparently Thursday or Thursday.
Well, Thursday US, so it'll be our Friday pretty much. It's
yeah, go.
I was going to say it's going to be interesting. It's larger than the S3. It's about 2 inches longer. But it's got an 8-core processor, which is just like ludicrous, to be honest. I mean, my Note 2's got a quad core, and there's nothing this thing can't crunch through. So, but what they kind of do is, it's an 8-core processor, but what they do is they run them at a slower clock speed, which keeps the heat down, and the cooler they are, the more efficient they are. So yeah, I mean, having a huge amount of processing power isn't necessarily a bad thing. Judging by Yep.
I was just going to say, there's also rumours that they're also going to launch shall we say, an iWatch rival.
Yeah, which, as I was talking about last week, it's not that computer watches are unheard of. I mean, there is Android watches now you can buy. There's there's Windows watches. There's all this sort of stuff now that's available. But whether the thing comes down to battery life and usability, most of the stuff now, especially the Windows-based ones, just aren't usable. And I think that's something that, at the end of the day, people will buy it if it's practical, if it becomes a practical application. Especially if it has something like an NFC, like a near field communications chip in it, where you can just swipe your credit card into the phone, so it memorizes your card. Then when you go through drive-throughs or go to cafes or whatever, you just swipe your wrist over the device.
But I mean, like my issue with these things is, probably all right for the youngsters, but as you get older, I don't know, you won't be able to read it. Like, what can you read on it?
I reckon that the innovation would be, obviously Google Glasses would be great because it sits, it's a little bit of plastic that sits in front of your eye, but it equates to a 40-inch screen to look at. So, but if you look at that from a technical point of view, how high is that DPI? How high is that resolution on that little tiny quarter-inch by quarter-inch bit of plastic to make it readable like a 40-inch screen? Like, it's just and on a watch, so you got a similar sort of problem, I suppose. It'd be great in terms, I guess you could, you would have it like an MP3 player plus a normal watch, but it would be in use. You couldn't use it for SMSs, you couldn't use it for emails. You could use it as a normal phone with the help of a Bluetooth, but yeah.
Well, they reckon, so this thing is going to be apparently called the Galaxy Altius, and if images are genuine, the images that have supposedly have come out, the smartwatch must be close to be ready for launch. Recently, smartwatches launched by Sony, apparently not that great. I didn't even know there was one. And Pebble, never heard of it. Pebble sounds like
I think that's a Windows one.
But so that's the Samsung. So the Galaxy S4 is coming out, launching or whatever, is launching Thursday. That's probably Friday our time. So there you go.
The other thing I am interested in is what they're calling the eye technology that's supposed to monitor you and track your eyes, and as you look up and down or left and right or look away from the device, it actually knows if you want to scroll up and down, or if you're not looking at it anymore, it'll put the screen to sleep, or it'll pause a movie. My Note 2 is smart enough to know if you're looking at the screen. If you look at the screen, it turns the screensaver off and turns the device back to active. Or if you're reading something and you're looking at the screen, it will keep the screen on. So it's smart enough to recognize when you're looking at it, but this is the next one that recognizes what you're doing with your eyes.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, it's good. I think the Google Glasses would be okay. I don't know. It'd probably take a while for them to become a fashion accessory, but I think the object behind it is good. Thought behind it.
That's it. I think you're right. Like I would love them. I think that'd be ideal because I'm on the road all day. It would allow me to, to not have to access my phone. Not that I do while I'm driving, but at the moment it means if I want to even check an SMS, I've got to pull over, and whatever. But if I had those, at the very least, you could set it as a pop-up. So, for me, it's a productivity thing. It'd be perfect.
Yeah. Okay. So moving on to the have you got these other stories, Will? Because I'm trying. I'll just work out sort of what stories I want. I've got heaps.
Yeah. Well, I don't. I can only load up one at a time because I'm pegged my CPU. Oh. But there is one that I'm waiting for it to load about the mother who tries to sell her kids on Facebook for $4,000.
Where's she from?
Did you hear about that one?
No. Where's she from?
Oklahoma, of course.
Oh, right.
She should know better. She was arrested on Saturday for trying to sell her children on Facebook. According to police reports, she tried to sell her 10-month-old girl for $1,000, or both her and her 2-year-old child for $4,000. And she found a buyer, which is, I think, is even more scary. She was reportedly communicating with a woman in Arkansas who is going to be charged for trafficking of minors. So,
Sorry, my
So
mic just
yes,
fell down.
I noticed
That's what
that
it.
your brand new mic you can't even keep it in its holder anymore.
No, it's on the old stand, and it happens every now and then. All right.
And
So,
basically, yeah, she was basically selling her kids because she wanted to bail her boyfriend out of jail.
yeah, right. Look, I could probably understand. Microphone. Look, I could probably when you said the scarier the person that bought them, but yes, on one hand it can be scary, but then it could be just a person that's thought, well, this is a tragedy, and I'm going to get in here and just buy these poor little children before something tragic happens.
Well, yeah, it's. I guess you could try and find the upside, but the problem is that's not true. The person who bought it was a known child trafficker. So, yeah.
Well, that's no good. Now HP, I think they've had flaws in their printers before. Was it HP like a year ago or so?
I think everybody has, but yeah, HP's.
Yeah, but then apparently there's this new flaw that's been detected which enables remote attacks. So if you've got a HP printer, maybe go to the show notes, aussietechheads.com.au/podcast, and just go to the show notes section. The Telnet debug shell flaw impacts 10 LaserJet Pro printers, according to the HP software security response team. Christopher von Wittich, a security expert based in Germany, discovered the flaw. The printers had a Telnet port open, which I did not expect to be open, he told a CRN. I tried to connect to the port with a Telnet client, and I got a debug shell, which allows you to disable SSL communications to the HP ePrint cloud server and shows the password for the HP cloud server connection in plain text. Wow. That's the second week in a row I've heard about plain text passwords.
The backdoor is for admin, for, and the whole idea is it's there, and then if they want to, they access it and they change it.
Well, they should. But why does say HP come out and say, oh yeah, well, we know about that flaw? Well, it's not a flaw; it's design.
No, the flaw was the plain text password. So normally, what happens if you get a router or something is you get given a card with a password on it. The problem is when they did the firmware for these printers and they mass produced them, the printers still have a password. They still have their Wi-Fi password because a lot of them act as hotspots for Wi-Fi printing and things like that. They still have a Bluetooth password and all that, but just this particular shell one got missed out, and when they got written as blanks. It was, but I mean, generally the only person who would have access to that would be a system administrator. And they would normally change the password anyway. So it's not that much of an issue, to be honest.
Okay. Well, anyway,
what's going to happen to somebody who's going to print spam to your printer? I mean,
well, no, it enables a remote attack. Connect port with the shell. So some sort of remote attack probably gives you a bit of a gateway into the joint or something. As long as the printer is not connected to the internet, the vulnerability should not cause much trouble. Impacted printers, they've got a little list of them there. So go and have a look at that list if you've got a HP and you're worried about it.
Now,
yep.
I was going to say there's one couple of stories I just want to quickly touch on. A really badly worded and written survey says that 90% of all smartphone viruses come from Android. Malware attacks and stuff come from Android.
Yep.
The problem is it didn't take into consideration there's 47 different flavors of Android, and there's like 100 times more Android devices than anything else. But you can't have details get in the way of a good story. And the other thing that actually got released today, today or yesterday. Have you heard of the Harlem Shake?
Yes. Yes.
Well, some fantastically brilliant Apple iPhone programmer decided to expend his talents and make a app for the iPhone that makes all your icons do the Harlem Shake.
Okay. Right.
So that's a high quality app that you've got to watch. You've got to watch out for.
I heard there was some. There's been some copyright issue over that now. Some YouTube
probably
people have. Yeah, But just touching back on your malware, because I think I've got that story too. Because you said with the Android, 96 new families and variants of Android threats in the fourth quarter of 2012, doubling the number recorded in the previous quarter. The majority of the malware is distributed as Trojanized apps, which is a legitimate program, has been engineered to include a malicious component. Most of that would be free apps, I'd imagine. The malware generally attempts to profit from the user by silently subscribing them to premium SMS-based services. Now, the mobile version, what's this one? The banking Trojan, believed to have stolen millions from victims' accounts, also has surfaced on Android devices. So blah, blah, blah. So I thought, well, we'll just balance that out with an iPhone story, because there's one here, iPhone apps riskier than Android. So there you go. There's two different sides. According to a report. Yeah, sorry?
I was just going to say quickly, a lot of the Android stuff is because there are alternative markets available for Android devices, especially if you have a rooted phone, so you don't have to go through the Play Store. Stuff can be installed from websites or, well, not even a rooted phone. If you go to a website, you can install apps directly. So it's kind of true, but it's kind of like saying Windows is mainly vulnerable to viruses than any other operating system. You know, it's in the same sort of boat. It is because there's so many of them, and there's so many different ways to get a malware. It's not just one outlet, which I have to admit is the upside mostly, as you're about to say, is different. But for the most part, the iOS isn't the issue because it's much harder for that to happen.
Well, this story here is not. So the Android story is concentrating on malware. This iPhone story is concentrating on privacy issues. As in the iOS apps pose greater risks and privacy issues than Android. The biannual App Reputation Report. How many reports are they going around these days? Analyzed the top 50 free apps on both platforms and examined the difference in behavior that affects user privacy. The study focused on free apps because they commonly collect more user data, which is then shared with third parties, a method used by developers to create revenue. Now, in nearly all of the categories, iOS apps prove to access the most information. Of the 50 apps examined on each platform, 100% sent and received unencrypted data on iOS compared to 92% on Android. 100% on iOS sent and received unencrypted data. 100%.
Yeah,
that's
they
all.
don't say what the data is, though.
60% of apps tracked user locations in iOS compared to 42%.
A cookie, yeah.
And 60% of the iOS apps shared user data with third parties as opposed to 50% on Android. The most alarming figure was 54% of iOS apps access user contact lists on iOS as compared to 20% on Android. Now, where this is leading to is that all the companies and their BYOD regimes that some are bringing into deployment, which is to bring your own device. If your iPhone is going to start sending and accessing your user base, well, that could be a problem. They might have to tighten that one up a bit.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of them, though, I don't know how the iOS works. I haven't had a device long enough to play with that, but with the Android, where every time you install an app, it says, we will do this, we will access this, we'll access this, we will send your part of the third, and then it says third-party data collection, e.g. Google Ads. So it will actually tell you, as well as what it's doing, it will also tell you where it's doing it.
Look, I know, inherently, if I'm asked if I want to share stuff, I'll just say no, and I suppose that's why they don't ask, isn't it? So because people will just say no. Like, when you install Microsoft a product or you install an Apple product and you get it says, you want to share operational data with Microsoft.
Yeah.
Help us keep a track of what's gone right and wrong with our product. Well, you say no. Like, it's probably only a couple of bytes, but stuff it. I'm paying for the internet.
Yeah, I mean, it depends on the program. Things like Hangouts and stuff like that, I do because I find that for applications like that, because they're a free application, they're providing the service and it's a constant work in progress and they're constantly tweaking it, I'm more than happy to say, yeah, no worries, figure it out. But I've just installed Flash. Would you like to participate and use? No. your application sucks. No amount of participation is going to help.
He's going to rot. That's right. Well, you're my offset, Will. I'm a knower. You're a yeser. We're offset.
No, as I said, it depends. But it's the same with, as I said, with the phones. With Android at least, they do tend to do things. They want to share your contact data. They want to use your internet. They want to do, but then it says, we use the internet because it's going to download your location for, your mapping software, or, they always tell you why they're doing it. So I think the expectation in Android is different to the iOS. In iOS, you expect, because it's a lockdown device with a lockdown operating system, you expect your data to stay where you put it.
Oh, yes, that's right. But personally, using iPhone, as I've got the iPhone 5 for personal use, I really don't care too much. It's not impacting on my life, so it's sweet. I don't care.
Yeah, well, that's it.
Probably if I knew all that went on, I'd probably care. But new national online gambling protections to be introduced. Now, a 32 recommendation report, including that a national approach should be taken to ensure there were minimum standards in regards to harm minimisation and consumer protection measures. What a mouthful that is. So anyway, looks like the government's going to try and fiddle and fumble some sort of legislation around the place that, what is it, Wilkie and Xenophon wanted, but apparently they're not happy with it. They say it hasn't gone far enough. Apparently the government is just leaving it up to the states to try and work out, whereas the Xenophon and the Wilkies wanted it to be a national approach, which is probably good. It probably should be a national approach because it's the internet has no borders. New measures, blah, blah, blah. Conroy said the government will not pursue changes to online poker tournaments and in play sports betting, such as betting on an event's final result, betting on particular situations such as who will score the next goal, and micro betting. Now, do you know what micro betting is, Will?
I've heard the terminology, but I've never actually bothered to look it up.
Well, micro betting which includes betting on the next point in tennis. So you'd have to be keen.
That's like betting the next ball in cricket. It's going to go for 4.
Well, they pretty much get down to that, don't they? They say the 6th ball of the 5th over will be a no ball. And that's what all the trouble's about.
It's bad enough trying to pick, when they do all this pick the first goal and stuff like that. And that's bad enough, and you've got a 50-50 chance with that one.
Well, the problem I see. Look, I can see both sides. Once again, I think any normal, reasonable person can see both sides of the argument. Whereas, I think from one side, yes, the advertising of all this gambling, especially on the TV, and especially through the footy games, I think it should be finished. I think it should be gone. It should not be there. If you're a gambler, you know where it is, what to do, how to do it. But from the other point of view, well, gambling is legal, so therefore they're just advertising their legal right to advertise their product, and they've come to an agreement with the footy codes or the cricket or whatever. Personally, I'd probably rather not see it. I'm not into it.
I mean, to be honest, it was like this whole crap they had with the thing they did with the poker machines, where they decided to implement a card that you had to put into the poker machines, and you can only spend $500 a day or whatever the limit was. But that's okay. If the limit wasn't enough for you, you just rung them up and said, "Can I have a higher limit?" And they'd give you a higher limit. So, that was incredibly useful. And what it basically comes down to is the government has the appearance of doing the right thing in much the same way they do with everything else, and yet at the same time able to make far more money from it. Because, gambling, to be honest, they make so much money from gambling that it's not funny. So they're never going to restrict people's ability to do it. All they're going to do is they're going to put up things saying, like, for example, you can't advertise gambling at certain venues and whatever. But they put up what's it called? The signs they put up saying gamble responsibly, and it's the same as saying drink responsibly. They make so much money from taxes on alcohol. They're never going to ban it, but they're going to appear to do the right thing.
Of course, like, there are a lot of problems, and I was only listening before I even saw this story today. I was listening to the radio, and there's that ad with the clubs, and it comes and says, "We're trying let us be part of the solution,"
Yeah.
and and I'm thinking, well, you're the problem.
Yeah, that's it. You're not the solution.
I can't see why you. Oh, I just can't see. Like, yeah, you go down, you put $5 in, but you know what? I could not put more than $10 in a poker machine. I just couldn't do it. I just could not do it. I just know that at the end of the day, you're not going to win. So I don't know why you do it. But yeah. So anyway, Xenophon said the federal government should tighten consumer access to overseas sites. Well, I think that's the least they could do. If you're going to gamble, you might as well gamble and let us have the taxes from it. And it's disregarding the Commonwealth's ability to intervene now and fix loopholes in the legislation. New measures the federal government plans to introduce include making it mandatory for users to set their own deposit limits, stricter rules around lines of credit, and limiting the types of inducements offered by online gambling providers, such as limiting the payment of commissions to third parties that encourage people to open new online gambling accounts.
Hi,
Yeah.
You've got how much money would you like to spend today on your gambling debt? Would you like to spend $100? No, 10,000. Yep, no worries. Here you go. How is that supposed to help anything? Friggin' bunch of morons.
Look,
Shows how intelligent our government is.
Just before we just finish off on this topic, just as some trivia. Look, I know there's a little. It's probably not so little, but there's a club close to me, close by, probably within 15 k's, and the poker machine count just about approximately every morning is like $400,000 every morning,
which isn't that much really, but
but this is $400,000.
No, but the club doesn't. The club only gets like 9% of that.
Oh yeah. Oh, I'm not saying that's making the club. I'm just saying that's $400,000 out of the community, out of the families of the area.
Yeah, but that's okay because the government gets about 85% of that back, so they can afford to support the community.
Remember when Joe was in? You wouldn't remember Joe, would you? Will? There was no poker machine back then.
Yeah, but New South Wales, wasn't it? Or was it?
Oh, New South was the only ones that had them.
Yeah,
because
that's right.
Everyone used to go to Tweed, to Twin Towns, to play the pokies. And then I actually worked down the other end of New South Wales on the Victoria New South Wales border, and everyone came across to play the pokies. Yeah,
that was interesting. But I mean, it was I mean, as I said, the government makes that $400,000 every day. Well, then the government's making 85% of that. So why are they going to complain?
Yeah, well, that's right, isn't it? Exactly.
Because the government actually, I don't think the pubs ever make that much. I think the government takes. Oh, it's been ages. I actually used to know all this because I used to do poker machine clearances. But I think the government take 80% or 85%. The actual the owners of the machines take 11%, I think, something like that, right. And means the pub actually gets like 4%.
Jeez.
So
it's
just stupid like that. But yeah, I mean, but having said that as well, a lot of the smaller clubs rely on it because the little the station hotel in Bumsville, middle of nowhere. The people come in, they have a drink, they go and throw $5 for the pokies. They have a drink, they go and throw $5 for the pokies. They have a drink, they throw $25 for the pokies. So it's
that's right.
It's as much whether you love it or hate it. The thing is, if we didn't have pokies and we didn't have not so much TAB, it doesn't really, the pubs don't make anything from that. But Keno and pokies, if it wasn't for those, a lot of pubs would shut down because that is what supports them. So whether you like it or not, it's a business plan for some people.
All right. Well, let's get off the pokies, and we're going to hear from Garth. He's got another review, another iOS review, and I'll turn this up here so Will can actually hear this as well. And so we'll just fly over to Garth, see what he's going to review this week. Another week, another app. Garth, how you doing?
G'day, Glenn. This week we're having a look at an app called Dropbox. So you're probably all familiar with the service Dropbox, DROPBOX.
Yes.
This one is DROPVOX. So Dropbox, it's an app for iOS that allows you to do audio recording. It's like a voice memo type app. audio recordings. But the nice thing with Dropbox is it automatically uploads those straight to your Dropbox account.
Right.
So you pop in your Dropbox credentials, and as soon as you finish recording, the app's there sitting in your Dropbox folder.
Nice.
Upload straight away. So it's really nice.
You can choose what folder that goes into, I would imagine.
I think you can, yeah. Can't remember if it creates its own folder or how that part of it works, but yeah, just drops them in your Dropbox file.
Sends to your Dropbox account in quality M4A format. Use Dropbox to capture your spoken ideas, reminders, and more. And later you can listen to them back. That's pretty good. That's pretty good.
It's just a nice little voice memo app, and saves you the problem of, if you're trying to get those recordings out to somewhere else, they're just sitting there in your Dropbox account straight off for you.
Now, because there's not a native iOS app that will do voice, that you can do a voice recording
on the iPhone. It's not on the iPad, but there's a native voice memos app.
Yes.
Probably buried away in your utilities folder.
Right. Yep.
And depending on the size of the file, that will let you email them out.
Right.
Or message them out. You can even send them via SMS.
Yeah. Nice.
From the voice memos app. But once they get over a certain size, you have to sync them through iTunes, or you can't get them out of the.
Well, I suppose the handy thing about this one is that, like, you could be, say, if you're on the road, you could do a bit of dictation or something while you're after the end of it, seeing each client, and then your old secretary, old love's back at the office.
And they're automatically sitting there waiting for it, ready to go. Yep.
Yeah, nice. That sounds pretty good. Yeah. Now, this is not a freebie. It's
a couple of bucks, isn't it?
Yeah, $1.99.
There you go.
So that's all right.
Yeah.
So that's pretty good. That's not too bad at all. That's something that I'd be looking at purchasing myself, I think. That's
a handy
good.
little app.
Good.
Yeah, it's a nice one. Yeah. Very simple interface. There's nothing too complicated about it.
No.
Pop in your credentials and away you go.
Yeah, so there's nothing else I think that we can tell you about it. It's pretty it's just that straightforward, I think. What have we got here?
If you haven't heard of Dropbox, then do yourself a favour, as old Molly would have said.
Oh,
do yourself a favour and get yourself a Dropbox account.
Yeah, so Dropbox, just if you don't know, is a it's a cloud storage service where you can dump stuff and share the link to it with anyone. So I've chucked up a PDF onto a web page, and I've just linked it to a Dropbox PDF. And so it just downloads, easy. So the features, quickly record audio and send it directly to the Dropbox. We said compressed M4A. We've said background uploading so you can continue working with other applications.
Yeah.
Full accessibility with VoiceOver.
Yep.
Option start recording immediately when Dropbox launches.
Yeah,
so
that's cool. Handy actually, that sort of app, when they do that. Because, there's nothing wrong. I hate iOS apps that you have to fiddle around with to do what you want to do.
Yeah.
You just open and away you're going, and more the better.
And an option to continue recording while Dropbox is in the background or your device is locked. So there you go. Note about uploading, blah 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 blah, and the rest is just blah.
It's pretty straightforward.
It is straightforward.
Not a lot to say. Yeah. Give it a go.
For $1.99, jump on it. See you next time.
Night.
All right, that's another great review there from Garth. Now, if you want to see his reviews again without toggling through the whole show, you can go to the aussietechheads.com.au/podcast webpage and just search up there. Just go down the menus, you'll find the iOS reviews. And also, each day, daily, I'm putting up on the Aussie Tech Heads Facebook page. So that's facebook.com/Aussie Tech Heads. We're putting up a free app, normally a paid app that you have to shell out for, but for one day only. And for that day only, it will be free. And I'll try and pick one that's maybe, I do a lot of productivity ones because they're the ones that probably, give me a buzz the most. I never use them. Maybe that's why I'm so unproductive. And I might mix it up a bit. Get some games and all that sort of stuff. So have a look at that. Facebook.com/Aussie Tech Heads. All right, Will. How's your stories going?
Yeah, well, I was just reading the chat room, and PA's been having trouble with Java all night, and I was actually having this problem, with Flash, sorry, I was having this problem last night with it. It just continually was crashing. And it just reminded me that the Pwn to Own contest was on, was it last night before? Yes, 2 days ago, I think it was. It might have been 2 or 3 days ago. But basically what the Pwn to Own contest is the big companies such as Microsoft, Google, Apple, who else is in there? Adobe, a few of the others all get together and they throw a prize pool together for hackers to come in and to use real-world exploits to gain access to systems. And, you know, it's not just a one-off. It's got to be repeatable. It's got to be reliable. And basically what it is this year, and Chrome hasn't fallen since Chrome's inception. It's never gone down in opponent to own. This year it did go down, but only in the sandbox, so only in your incognito window.
Right.
They did find a vulnerability in it.
Wow.
But
that's pretty good, isn't it?
Windows 8 fell. Windows fully patched Windows 7, fully patched Windows 8, and OXS Mountain Lion all fell within 30 seconds.
Wow.
Firefox fell. Java fell.
Why are they employing some of these people?
So, well, that's the idea of this. It's the idea of this thing that basically Google put. How much did Google put up? Google put up $100,000.
Wow.
Microsoft was $75,000 each for Windows 7, Windows 8, Internet Explorer was $75,000 each. 60 grand for ripping up IE9 on Windows 7. Firefox was 65 grand, Apple OS and all that. So what they do is it kind of stops a lot of these hackers from just exploiting the vulnerability to cause a bit of trouble than having the vulnerability patched. What they do is they'll hang on to it all year and then come to this competition and win themselves, 100 grand for a few minutes work.
Yeah.
And of course,
Well,
Google run their own thing as well, where they offer about $3 million, and basically
brings all the hackers out. Why don't they get slapped with handcuffs as soon as they turn up, sign on?
Well, because it's all legitimate. See.
What have they been practicing on?
Yeah, that's it. Well, no, there's no law to state you can't. Well, it probably is illegal to hack something, but in the privacy of your own home, I can't see how that ever been forced that. It's only once you cause, like banks and stuff to go down.
Just like they want to enforce the unlocking of mobile phones.
Well, they've had a rejigger on that now too. The American there's this big pushback against that, and there's massive lawsuits going ahead about that occurring now. They're trying to reverse that decision, and as we're saying last week, they need to, because it just can't. It's not sustainable to have it's not enforceable to start with, and even if it was enforceable, how they when their own government uses that procedure, it's like
Yeah, that's right. I've got a couple of quick ones. Dell Australia celebrates 20 years. Dell opened its doors to customers early 1993, and operations have expanded to include offices in Sydney, Melbourne, Brisbane, Perth, Adelaide, Canberra. Logistics team managing custom factory integration and customer factory services. Data service capability in Brisbane and Canberra. Sydney-based solution centre providing state-of-the-art facilities and demonstrations to support engagements with customers, and the list goes on. So Dell borrowed $1,000, started in the garage at the age of 19, and 20 years later he's trying to buy the company back. Facebook unveils redesigned newsfeed. Facebook is giving its billion users a completely new way to look at its site. That's going to be launched relatively soon, I think. The company on Tuesday previewed a new version of its newsfeed that cuts page clutter. Well, they do this every week, but doesn't seem to help, does it?
Makes sense. Has anybody else noticed how dog slow Facebook's been for the last week?
Doesn't mean I don't get on that too much. We're trying to give. This is Mark Zuckerberg. We're trying to give everyone in the world the best personal newspaper they can find. Good on you, Sunshine. Now, it's one you might get your teeth into, Will. 3D printing. Have you ever? Is this something you're into?
Yeah, well, 3D printing's been around for quite a while. You've been able to buy the components to make your own 3D printer, and it basically prints in a plastic polymer, and it can print fully. They call it prototype printing because they've been using it for a few years to print fully functioning. Like you could print a shifting spanner, for example, and it would work.
Yeah.
But it's been out of the reach of of the average person because of the price.
So the company has developed. This is the company that developed 3D print gun parts. Has announced plans to launch a new firm dedicated to copyright-free blueprints for a range of 3D printable objects. Now, the company DefCAD, DEFCAD, as the firm will be known, has already been dubbed the Pirate Bay of 3D printing. Its blueprints at non-profit defcad.org have seen 400,000 downloads since the site was launched. In the video, there must be a video on the site somewhere. Mr. Wilson said, who is Cody Wilson, is the founder, said the revolution, which may predict 3D printing, will bring about what? Mr. Wilson said the revolution, which may predict 3D printing, will only happen if it can be freed from corporate ties. So anyway, he's got blueprints of all this stuff, and hopefully it's all copyright free. And if not, I'm sure copyright stuff's still going to make its way up there. And people are printing everything out, from guns, drugs, medical devices, goods, everything. You can print anything.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, it's not robust in any way. It's plastic, but anything that you could conceive to use plastic for, you're pretty much set. In the early days, it was massive, room-sized machines. These days, you can get it down pretty small, depending on what you're printing, of course. But it's still a bit expensive. I do know of where there are a couple around here, and they're usually shared. Usually, a few companies or individuals get together and buy one, and then you prototype. As you just book time for it. But it's pretty neat. There's nothing you can't.
Oh, yeah. Well, I've seen the ones I've seen. I've only seen the one just at a local tech get together thing. And it was a prototype. Well, it looked like homemade or whatever. It was the wires hanging out everywhere. It had two spools of plastic, like vine or plastic lead.
Plastic polymer,
yeah, but probably that'd be 2-3 mil round, thick and round. So that was fed in, and it must have melted somehow. And then, the dude printed out a little 3D Dalek. It was a Dalek, and you could pick it up and hold it. It was it just melted and plopped melted plastic on top of melted plastic and on top of melted plastic, and it made this little Dalek with the bumps around the side and everything. It was unbelievable. And this was just from a rough thing that looked like it belonged in some mad scientist's shed.
I mean, the vast majority of them still are homemade, just because you can pay a few $100,000 for one, or you can make one for a couple of grand. So
So that's 3D printing. Keep an eye out for that. Go to defcad.org and have a look at some of the stuff they've made. Like there's these gun parts. I don't know why the hell they want to be making gun parts, but anyway, the gun parts they just look real. It's just they're plastic.
Yeah.
And
I mean, you can make stocks. You can make you can make the stock. You can make the trigger guards. You can make a lot of the mechanisms out of plastic. It's only things like the rifled barrels and things like that that you obviously can't. But there are a lot of components in a gun that you could quite easily make out of plastic. I mean, not only guns, but you think like tools and anything that you need to get you out of trouble. I mean, emergency splints or anything.
Yeah, well, you drop your remote control and crack the case. Make another one.
Yeah, pretty much. You drop your iPhone and... No, wait, you can't.
No, I can't. I dropped mine again today. Believe it. It's still working, though. Still dropped it. It wasn't a great night. Have you got any more, Will?
Yeah, quickly. There's quite a funny one. Last week, or not last week, a few days ago now, in New Zealand, a heap of FPOS terminals suddenly displayed the message herp derp. What had happened was the developers for this particular FPOS system by Payment Express were testing new updates, and they accidentally rolled them out to all their machines. So instead of having the name of the company and the time and everything on the stamps, it just had herp derp written all over them. So
what did herp derp mean?
It's sort of a thing. It's a gaming expression a lot of the time. You're just derping around. You just, don't really know what you're doing. You just sort of being a bit of a noob.
Oh, good.
So yeah,
think
but I just found that one quite funny, so I thought I'd throw that in. It didn't affect anything. The machine still worked the way they normally would, but it's just funny that a developer pushed out 15,000 FPOS machines with this message all over them. So that included ones that were also included their ATMs as well. So you can imagine walking up to an ATM and all it says on the front of it is herp terp. You'd be like,
so, yeah, that is fun.
Also, iPad shipments have dropped this year, and Android has gone up. And it's not a huge shift. It's basically it's 5% each way now. It's gone to Android's gone up to 49%, and Apple's gone down to Android's gone up to 51, and Apple's gone down to 46.
Is that the all iPads?
That's tablets. So it's the different tablets, Apple tablets versus.
Well, I saw that apparently the Apple original iPad, the 10-inch, is not doing too well at all.
No, it's dropped even further, and every 50%. Hang on, what's it? 50%? Oh, where did I just see it? I was just reading it.
I don't know what's wrong.
So 50% of tablets shipped were below 8 inches. So over half. Well, I don't know, not necessarily.
They're cheaper than 10s.
Well, yeah.
Oh, I wouldn't like a 7. I like my 10. I don't know. 7's too small.
Well, this is 7, and I use this. I find this is as big as I want to go. I don't want to go any bigger. If I want to go any bigger, I carry a laptop. So, I mean, having said that, that's a 7-inch screen, and that's the. Oops, he says as he drops it. That's my Note 2 that I use every day, so it's not actually that much smaller anyway. So I guess I'm just used to a big device. I mean, I went from that one to that one, so it's sort of that fits inside the screen of that phone. So, but so basically they're saying that Android's gone up. It's now got 51% of the market share, and it's continuing to increase. They're also saying that the Windows RT, which is the Windows tablets, have basically died in the arse. They've got 1% market value. They're expecting to have 7% by 2017.
Yeah, right.
So you're pretty much, like when you're competing for 7% of the market share, you're starting to wonder, is it worth it at that point?
Is it worth it? Yeah, yeah, that's right.
I mean, 7%. I think they have 7% of search. So you've got Google at 90%, and then you've got everyone else. And it's going to be basically the same with this. So yeah.
Yeah, well, that's interesting. Look, I still like the 10-inch iPad, and I still like my little iPhone. So
I've used a iPad, and it was fine. There's nothing wrong with it. It just I found it too big. Like I couldn't sit on the lounge and use it comfortably. It was too awkward. Whereas the 7-inch I found was the perfect size for that. So it's personal preference. It really is. Look, I think I don't like the Apple, and I've always said this. I don't like the Apple products because for what they are too expensive. And that's the only reason I don't like them. I've got nothing against them other than the fact they're locked down, but there's ways around that too. But I just don't like them because the value for money isn't there. And the user experience these days between Apple and Android, there's not the bridge that it used to be. They're getting very, very similar in terms of the way you use them. And the innovations that Apple did make originally to make themselves have a fantastic product, they're no longer making, and their products are falling behind.
Lacking. Yeah.
Because of their lack of innovation. They're not innovating anymore.
We're talking about, how everyone, Apple, they drop the rumors every now and then, and to create the buzz and all this sort of stuff. I've been seeing in the papers and in the stories and everything, this week's Apple 5S rumors roundup, and then you turn the page or whatever, and then it'd be Apple iPhone 6 rumor roundup.
That's right.
Well, hang on. Like, I reckon two iPhone, they're rumours for two. Well, that's going to be detrimental to the 5S, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because people aren't going to buy it. They're going to. So obviously this one's not of their design. So whether or not there is a 6, but who knows? Who knows? We'll ask Eric next week.
I mean, they virtually have to continue making them now. They pretty much don't have a choice. They're going to have to continue making the iPhone.
Mm.
The question, and the iPad too, as well, I guess. The question is, are they going to do what they originally did and make it worth the money, make it so unique and so stand-out-ish that you don't, if you want, that's the only device that will do that. You know, you need to spend the extra few $100s because I really want that. That's the only thing that'll do it, you know. And they don't have that now. They need to go back to that. They need that innovation, which has the run-on effect of everybody else also is basically their hand gets forced and they need to step up. So it doesn't only improve Apple's products, it actually improves everybody else's products as well.
Yeah, that's right. But I think, the cycle is just mad, isn't it? It's every 6 months or something. It's madness.
Yeah, at the moment, it's ridiculous. And given that most plans, I mean, the majority of phones, something off the top of my head, something like 85% of phones are on a plan. There's something like 15% of them are prepaid. I'm talking normal phones, not those not the $40, you know.
Yeah.
I'm talking like high quality S3s and iPhones. The vast majority of them are on 2-year plans. So if you've got somebody on a 2-year contract and you're bringing a phone out every 6 months, how does that benefit you?
I think they just got to keep up with the Joneses. That's what it's all about, isn't it?
You know,
who's got the most? Who's got the best? Who's got one with the latest?
A different model. I understand. You know, you bring out the S3, then you bring out the Note 2, then you bring out. Okay, they're different models. They're targeted at different people. But you go from an iPhone to an iPhone 2 to an iPhone S to an iPhone, whatever. They were exactly the same phone. One had a better camera. One had a little bit more memory. One had there was just minor incremental updates, and everybody's like, well, I'm still on contract, so tough. There wasn't any incentive for them to go to that.
Before now, anyone wanting to use the Kinect had to work with unofficial software toolkit.
Yeah, because
now
Microsoft said they'd never release it.
But they've released it. Yeah.
They said, we will never release this. You'll never be able to, use it for anything other than what we intended. Oh, hang on. Maybe we should.
Microsoft said it had opened the code up to make the Kinect easier to use and get feedback about how to improve it. Soon after the Kinect 2010 release, hardware hackers wrote code that let the controller device. Anyway, now Microsoft has released 22 code samples for the Kinect that expose that computer code that helps it track faces, interpret gestures, and determine colors, among other things. The code has been put on the Codeplex website so developers can freely download and share the software. There you go.
Does it really matter at this point? There's been 5 years of development with unofficial software. It's probably better than the Microsoft stuff anyway.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. That's right. What else, Will?
There's a few things. There's a lot of toing and froing this week in, Telstra gets away with their naked ADSL mandate where they were supposedly increasing the prices more than or cutting the resellers out and stuff. But again, with the NBN, the coalition is on the ball, and they've come up with 3 options for the NBN now.
Well, I started reading options and I just went, you know what? I'm just going to wait till they get in and then we'll know what they're going to do.
Pretty much. Basically what it comes down to is their studies, they're always studies and policy alternatives.
Where all the money goes.
126-page report outlines 5 options.
Sweet. Probably took 2 years to put together.
And yet the funny thing is, they have 6 bullet points in the story. Like, they're saying that this document outlines 5 options, but in the story they've actually got 6. So who made one up? Did the guys who made the story did they make one up or? But yeah, pretty much they're just saying, they're basically saying everything they've always said, that Telstra's, holding us up and it's all the contractors' fault and the government's doing everything they can to spend our money, to do our job, and You know,
Oh, look, I think the NBN's going to start here in 2014, finish 2015. So I can't wait. It's getting closer.
It's a reasonable assumption that by the time of the September election, 17%. How they come up with that number, I don't know. 17% of the target. Wow. Okay. English. 17% of the target premises. There's too many S's on that word. Are either passed by the FTTP network, or it is efficient to complete the passing. No wonder it's 126 pages.
Oh yeah. I don't understand what that means. That's rubbish.
We know that
anyway,
approximately 20% of all houses are already covered by the NBN.
Yes.
20% of what houses?
20% of the houses in a little town in Hobart.
Yeah.
That's it.
20% of the politicians have got their high-speed internet.
Yeah. But look, it's coming. It's coming. And I know we'll get it soon because
here it'll be outdated. I mean, they're only that's the problem. They're saying it's going to be 100 meg. Well, that's going to be nothing. By the time we get 100 meg networks, that's going to be like using dial-up.
Yeah, well, we've already seen the LTE. I've been getting download speeds in a good full bar area. Download speeds is like 65.
Yeah, that's it.
It's madness. It's madness. But
actually, I was next to the Forest Lake Exchange up here in Brisbane's only literally just got their 4G tower turned on the other day while I was actually there, and they got a massive big trunk line. They're right on a fibre trunk line. And I did a speed test there, and I got nearly 100 meg up and down.
Oh, wow. Awesome.
4G. Obviously that'll drop with congestion, but really, like, you can give me that on my phone. You can't give me that on my computer where I actually need it.
But then again, congestion, good story. But then just put another tower up or something.
Yeah, it is kind of congestion at the tower to a point, but a lot of it's actually the infrastructure isn't there. Like, it's only because they're on a major optic trunk line they're getting that speed. If they were 10 k's in either direction, they'd still be back on copper. And that's the issue. It's the abilities of the towers are there. The ability of the infrastructure, the underlying infrastructure is not there. That's the problem. That's what, even with the NBN, that's the problem we're still going to have. The backbone that connects us to the rest of the world, the undersea cables, the major nodes and routers aren't able. I mean, if everybody suddenly has a 100 meg network, this country would implode. And it'd just melt into a giant puddle. It wouldn't know what to do.
Yeah, well, everyone's got to be using 100 meg to start with. But look, I'd just be happy if we can get just faster. Look, I don't get 100 meg within Australia. Yeah, good. But most of your content comes from overseas. Can't we just improve the bandwidth to the US or something to start with?
Well, nobody wants to fork out to lay undersea cables because it's such an expensive exercise. We've got two. Isn't that enough?
No, obviously not. We need more. But then again, satellites and stuff, they probably...
Well, satellites are useless because, the speed's not bad, but for the average person, if you play games or anything like that, the latency is horrible. You're talking 500 millisecond plus round trip. So, and this is the other... I know we're running long, but basically, the other thing too is, now I get 100 meg down on cable. Cable is theoretically capable of that speed in both directions. The reason I get a shitty 600k upstream connection is because Optus limits it. They actually admitted to me the other day when I rang them and complained again that they put a cap on it. And the reason they put a cap on it is that they don't want people pirating stuff. I said, that's completely irrelevant because if somebody wants to pirate something, they're not going to do it through you. They're going to do it offshore. I said, I want, a speed. I told them what I do. I said I do a lot of podcasting. I do a lot of video uploading. I said and a lot of streaming, and I need bandwidth. I said I don't care what your bureaucrats up in an office think I need. I'm telling you what I actually do need. I said,
well, the muppet you were talking to is not going to care, is he?
No. I just said to them, I said, look, and that's basically what I said. I said it's not your fault. There's nothing you can do about it. But I'm just telling you that, I need that. And the problem is I'm supposed to be on 2 meg. I'm lately been getting between 6 and 700k. So I'm not even getting anywhere near the artificial cap that they've put on a high-speed connection.
Yeah, well, I'm with the Telstra. I get consistently, but this is speed test to Brisbane. Consistently get 115 down and about 2.4 up, which is good. But then as soon as you start speed testing the San Francisco or somewhere, it's like it's 5 down and 2 up or something. You know, it drops so dramatically, and that's what I think. What we've got to start improving. Like, yeah, sure, pages are hosted in Australia, whoopie-doo. But there's also a billion other pages overseas, so we need them.
And a lot of that is artificial cap, and that's the annoying part. Yeah. A lot of that is an artificial restriction. That's the problem.
That's right. Yeah. Anything else, Will?
No, you can go and check us out and get the rest of the stories that are up there on Aussie Tech Heads.
That's right. The webpage.
Something.
Yeah, that's right. You go straight to the webpage. Yeah, straight to the podcast webpage. Because AussieTechHeads.com.au is just a landing page now. If you want to go straight to the podcast webpage, it's AussieTechHeads.com.au/podcast. You can contact us at Glenn, Will, Shane, or Eric. Shane with a Y, Eric with a K at AussieTechHeads.com.au, or at Twitter's Will's at Mr. Tompkinson, at Shane with a Y 1973, at Eric with a K Franco, and at me, which is at Aussie Tech Heads. And that's about all we've got for tonight. And for those of you that watch Dragon's Den, I'm not sure who is out there that does watch it, but I watch it. It's a great show. I love it. I've seen every series. There is a new dragon coming in to the new series. Cloud computing pioneer Piers Linney has been named as the new member of the Dragon's Den, and he's replacing Theo, which is no good. I like Theo. Linney will join regulars Duncan Ballantyne, Peter Jones, Deborah Meaden, and another new dragon, Kelly Hoppin. So there you go, Dragon's Den. It's all slopping and changing around. But it's good to see Jonesy and Duncan still there. Duncan's a bit good for a laugh. It's ridiculous. All right, that's about all, I think. You're out, Will?
Yeah, that'll do us. I think we're running a bit long, so...
That's right. So we'll be back next Thursday night. We'll be back on schedule next Thursday night. Hopefully we'll have everything new Windows 7 installed, so it's going to run like a sweet dream, hopefully. And tonight was just one of those really bad nights where nothing just seemed to work. And luckily, Will's recording the video. I'm doing the audio. I think Will's doing the audio as well, just in case. And yeah, it's getting recorded on a Mac tonight. All right. All right. Well, until next time, it's bye-bye for now. Ta-da.
See you later. Bye.